Did you know your brain makes a sound? No. Mine goes, ooh. It's what happens when curiosity peaks, when something clicks, when you stumble upon a surprising link. It's what Taylor Swift also does to us with her Easter eggs. Makes us all go, ooh, and connect the dots.
Lab coat.
For me, my whole life has been a series of these oohs. And chaotic, yes, but meaningful. For most people, paths look like this. A straight line, one lane. For me, they mostly look like this. Hold on, sorry, that's the insides of my brain. What I really meant was, for me, they mostly look like this. My path isn't one lane. It's a whole highway of O's. Very chaotic and meaningful. When I was a kid, I wasn't the one grabbing the mic, nope. I was the one dressed in a hula girl costume for a fancy dress competition against my will. I was the anxious one, still am. And this is what that looked like. Hated attention. My mom also used to call me a detective because I used to notice everything. Too much, actually. And I decided to annoy her more by solving these mysteries then into solving real problems and gave myself even more problems, like figuring out my career in life. But I realized I wasn't just anxious, I was also curious. And curiosity has this weird habit. It turns observations into obsessions, and obsessions into experiments. In my journey so far, I've not always been sure of what I wanted to do. But I always saw design as an act of care. And I was sure I wanted to create genuine social and environmental impact, starting with what I knew, design. And that's when curiosity also stepped in. Curiosity gave me permission to play, to experiment, to keep asking, what if and why not? And what if I connect these two things? Now, when I say play, don't just imagine cricket in the gully and PUBG marathons in your phone. Because play is much more than that. Play is what happens when you doodle at 2 a.m., even on Canva. Play is what happens when you try something without knowing where it'll go. When you doodle instead of taking notes. And some of you open Canva at 2 a.m. just to see what happens. Play looks chaotic, but it's how curiosity turns into action, like dots scattered across your mind. And one day, these random dots connect. For me, my brain is exactly like the stage right now, constantly connecting dots in the middle of conversations. And if yours is that too, congratulations, you're chaotically curious. Let me show you what I mean by chasing your own O's. I'll share some dots from my own journey. Each one started with play and later led to impact. One of my first big O's came with an installation project I led in the pandemic. It was during a stint at a design firm. The brief was simple yet broad. Create an architectural intervention across a brutalist staircase in Ahmedabad. A blank canvas. The brief was simple, and yet I managed to look at endangered Indian crafts like Chanapatna. This question led me there because what if the installation didn't die in a landfill but had an afterlife? And that question led us here to Chanapatna. The craft had some limits. A tiny lathe, a narrow piece of wood. But instead of seeing these as restrictions, I started to treat them like game rules. I started playing. Sticky notes scattered across my softboard. Sketching, 3D modeling, tinkering with what forms could exist within these rules. And after exploring these, a big ooh came through. What if they stacked? What if they shape-shifted? What if these forms actually sparked curiosity? And slowly, these 9 ethereal beings emerged. Gender-neutral toys, stackable toys that could shape-shift into infinite forms. We call them Muse Tribe. The biggest ooh moment, though, for us was in the afterlife of this project. When we saw kids playing with these toys, trying to mix and match and reinvent their own characters, just out of curiosity. And that's when curiosity came a full circle. Because these toys weren't just designed for play, they provoked curiosity and play. From that first spark, curiosity kept widening that highway and led me to Banaras. My friend and I were building a sari store with mud, quite literally. And so we were expected to create a feeling and the experience of a mud house. We decided to use slow natural materials like cob, which is a mixture of mud, straw, sand, and water. And when I was trying to explore the forms that could hold these saris, I started playing with clay, pressing tiny shelves and alcoves into scale models like this. But then, ooh, said curiosity. And I asked, what if the space itself could shift how we feel? What if we made the actual slowness of building with mud and the tactility a more visceral experience for visitors? This curiosity led me to discover neuroarchitecture, the science of how architecture and our built environments affect our shape, affect our behavior and mood. So we designed and sculpted this archway into what neuroscientists call an event boundary, shifting one's nervous system and allowing them to pause before the big reveal beyond. Now, curiosity wouldn't let me stop here. So I also wondered, how can we relive Banaras, the rich culture of Banaras, in tangible ways by creating wonder within this space? So that when you look at them, you go, oh, wait, hold on, I know who that is. Now you must be wondering what that might be. And these were what came through with that curiosity. People of Banaras frozen in time through toys. We also co-created the whole space with local artisans, constantly making and building it one layer and curve at a time with cob. The space wasn't just built, it became slowly, with every imperfection and curiosity in every layer of the space. It was play at full scale, kind of like Minecraft, but with actual mud and fewer creepers. And as a teenager with anxiety, I wished I had the tools to talk about mental health and regulate my anxiety then. I mean, when I was standing outside the exam hall, paranoid, trying to read down to the last word of a paragraph, my mom used to say, "It's just anxiety," as if I was supposed to know what exactly that meant then. Mothers. And this curiosity also led me to ask, can play make serious things more accessible? While I was toying with this idea, I also took this curiosity into an innovation program, where I further asked, how might we make learning serious things and more fun and less scarier? This playful experiment turned into a board game today, where rolling the dice makes it easier to talk about emotions and anxiety, where players learn through passive play with learning embedded into the game. Because let's be honest, some of you teenagers are not going to sit in a seminar about anxiety. So I decided to play with both, you and your brains. They say, whenever you're curious, you look back to history for answers or for inspiration. Take Da Vinci, curious about everything. He played with anatomy, arts, machines, science. Da Vinci's sketchbooks look less like a scientist's work and more like a child doodling out of curiosity. And yet, those doodles gave us helicopters. And here's the thing. We spend so much time specializing, chasing that perfect job, employee of the month, climbing ladders. These are machine languages. What lasts isn't stats. It's the stories of adventure and innovation where we chased our curiosity and followed our ooh moments. What happens when you keep chasing these oohs, like I did a little? You start to see the world a little differently. You connect the dots that others may not see across different fields. You become adaptable, open to change, and versatile. You know, curiosity is like that friend that drags you into detours. You resist at first, but then those detours and turnarounds actually make for the best stories later. And in a world obsessed with performance, productivity, you know, those podcasts, and optimization, well, what if instead of performance, we allowed ourselves failure and slowness? What if instead of outcomes, complete outcomes, we valued actually being in between and a work in progress? Becoming instead of arriving. I'll leave you with that thought to connect. Here's the irony. I was an anxious kid, craving certainty. But I walked straight into uncertainty, following one ooh after another. And that's the beauty of curiosity. Certainty and uncertainty can coexist. And here's my invitation to you. Let yourself be the first to tinker, the first to play, the first to experiment and chase your oohs. Unapologetically, just because it makes sense to you. Because oohs turn into dots, and dots turn into connections. And connections, they shape who you're becoming. The world will tell you to fit in a box, pick a lane, asking, what do you do? But curiosity asks, who are you now? So go on. Before I say that, now I don't have all the answers. I'm here because you guys are going to chase your own oohs. So go on, keep listening for them, especially today. Because maybe that sound isn't distraction at all. Maybe it's the sound of you building your own map. And mind you, every ooh will scare the hell out of you. But I implore you to go straight into that direction of fear, because it is worth the new dot that appears when chasing your curiosity. Thank you.